Jacquie Edwards here for the very first Lunch with Jacquie session. In this session, I just want to go through a little bit of background about me and my property investing and business journey. And I'll also talk to you about kind of what the ongoing plan is for the Facebook Live sessions. And I know you're going to love it. So, a little bit about me. Again, my name is Jacquie Edwards. I am the best-selling author of Rent to Rent, Your Questions Answered. And rent to rent is the main property strategy that we use in our property investing business. So we'll go into a lot of that in the future kind of lunch sessions because I want to be able to go through a lot of questions and answers. And so what these sessions are going to be is I want to be answering your questions and giving you information on how we set up our business so that you can take the same steps and go away and take action and do all of these things. So what would be really, really great if as you listen to these or as questions come up for you in your property, your rent-to-rent, or just your general business, just send me a message. You can either send me a Facebook private message, although sometimes those don't come through very well. So the best way is probably email, and I'll make sure my email address is on here later. So send me any questions that you have, and I'll go through all of them and pick them for kind of the different lunch sessions. But today, again, I'll just give you a quick introduction as to who I am. So I am a property investor. I started my property investing journey probably about 3 years ago now, I think. Sorry if the camera's a bit wobbly. I don't have a very professional setup. I don't know if you can tell this. I'm just in my living room at the moment, so I don't have any professional lights or a professional kind of camera stand or anything, and in the background is just my curtains. So sorry if it's a little bit wobbly. Hopefully it doesn't distract too much from everything. So that out of the way. I've been investing in property for about 3 years now. I had no experience when I first got started. So my original career was as an accountant. So I worked with one of the big 4 accounting firms, and that's what initially brought me over here to the UK. So I initially was from the US, and I started as an accountant there. Sorry, I was just getting a message that my internet connection is weak, so hopefully I'm not cutting in and out too much. Let me know if you have any problems seeing me. So I was an accountant over in the US, and I absolutely love traveling. So I asked my company to send me abroad. And that's how I ended up over here in the UK as an accountant in London, working for one of the big 4 companies. I came right at the time of the credit crunch, so quite a few years ago now, and basically all the work that my group did in the firm kind of all dried up, and the office got that nasty corporate environment where it was very competitive, there was a lot of backstabbing happening, and I actually didn't enjoy accounting, so sorry if there's any accountants out there. I pretty much hated it. It was a great job because I had been taught, you have to go to school, you have to get good grades, you have to get good marks, you have to get a good career then after going to a good university. So that's what I've been told all my life. Basically the 40-40-40 plan. Work 40 hours a week for 40 years of your life so that you can spend the next 40 years of your life on a pension that doesn't cover all of your costs. So while I was an accountant during the credit crunch, I realized this wasn't for me. I didn't want to be going in, working in somebody else's office every day. So I made the big step and I quit. It was a surprise to my family, all of my friends who just couldn't understand why I would leave what they considered a really, really good job. I was well paid to basically start all over again. But I didn't quite jump into starting all over again because I went into freelance accounting because I thought that was what was going to give me the freedom that I was looking for. It was going to be working in my pajamas on my sofa every day. Turns out with accounting, the type of accounting that I was doing, it didn't work like that. I worked with big corporations, so I still had to go to their office every day. So I did freelance for maybe 2-3 years. And it was good, it was interesting, it gave me a bit more flexibility because I could pick and choose who I wanted to work with and how long I wanted to stay. But in the end, I was still an accountant. It brought me out to Oxford, where I live now. I live just outside of Oxford, so I got a freelance job out here, and I realized I loved living outside of London, so I needed to be able to find something that would be able to keep me here and that would take me out of accounting. So at this point, this was about 3 years ago, I said, oh my God, I need to find something else to do with my life. I can't be an accountant anymore. I need more freedom. I need more flexibility. My goal in life is to be able to do anything that I want whenever I want to do it, which sounds... A lot of people tell me that's not a very clear or kind of clarified goal, but to me, it is. So everybody has their own kind of picture of what success is and what their ideal vision of their life is. For me, that's mine. And being an accountant, having to go to somebody else's office every day didn't fulfill that requirement. So I started looking around at other options, and some of you may have done this as well. I jumped into a bit of Forex trading, so my partner and I did some training on how to trade the currency markets. It was very interesting, but it wasn't for me. It was a bit too much for me. And again, it was something you had to do every day, regularly, watching the markets constantly in order to kind of make a sustainable living from it. That's not what I wanted to do. Then I got introduced to network marketing, or like an MLM business. Again, I think it was the greatest idea ever. I don't know why nobody ever told me about it sooner. So I jumped into that, and again, it was just not a business that was for me. I'm not a super outgoing person. I don't love going to networking events and meeting new people and telling them about things live and in person. So I really struggled with network marketing because a lot of it is all about, going out and meeting new people. So I tried to do that, and then I started looking at what else could I be doing. So I read some books. I read Rich Dad, Poor Dad, which I'm sure many people have read, and he talks a lot about property investing and how to build wealth through property, and that's what he had done. So I thought that sounds like a good idea. Let me look at something specific here in the UK that will help me to understand how to invest in property in the UK, because I had no property investing experience. I had never bought my own home. I didn't own any rental properties. I had never done anything like this other than I lived in rented homes. So I've been a tenant all my life. So I bought Simon Zucchi's book, Property Magic, along with a couple of other books. I've got a bookshelf full of books that I've read on property investing, and I realized this is something that I could really do. So I started going to my local property networking events. Again, I was absolutely terrified when I first went. I couldn't even talk to anybody at the meetings, but just by going there and listening to all the amazing results people were having, all the different strategies that were available. Because when I first got started, I thought all there was you could buy a property and rent it out, or you could buy a property, refurbish it, and sell it as a flip. That's pretty much all I thought was available for property investors. Turns out there are so many different options and opportunities that are available, and by going to these property networking events and listening to other people talk about the strategies that they had success with, I was incredibly inspired. So I went out and I got educated, because I feel like education is one of the most important things that you can do in any career, in any journey that you can go on. Again, we looked at Forex trading. We got educated first before we got started. I went to go do network marketing. I got educated. I went to all my company's training events just so I could understand how to do it. Same thing with property. I wanted to get educated because I had no experience. So I went on a 3-day training course, absolutely amazing, and blew my mind. And from there, I knew this is what I wanted to do. And it gave me all of the strategies that I needed to invest in residential property. So I decided to jump out there and get started. It didn't happen super quickly right away, because like anything you're getting started with, there's a learning curve to it. You need to learn how to do it, you need to practice, and you need to apply. And the biggest thing is getting out there after you've been educated is taking action on everything. So, or at least that's what I thought it was. So I went out and I started taking massive action. I was viewing loads of properties, but I had no set strategy. So I was viewing everything from 1-bedroom flats to 20-bed bed and breakfasts, and I was viewing them anywhere within about 2 hours from my house. So I was looking at Oxford, Abingdon, Gloucester, down in Reading, pretty much anywhere that I could get to easily, and some places not so easily. And after about 6 months, I was due to start on a kind of a 12-month mastermind program with property, and I had no properties. I had been doing it for 6 months. I had even left my accounting job about 2 months earlier, And so I could do property full time because I thought that would give me what I needed, and I still had no properties. So 6 months into my real property career, and I had absolutely nothing. I was feeling really down, I was feeling really defeated, and I talked to my coach, because that's another thing I really, really believe in, is having a coach, having a mentor, somebody that's been there and done that, that can help you in your career and in your journey. So I had a chat with my property coach, and he gave me kind of one of the biggest tips that really helped propel my journey after that. He basically asked me if we had a business plan. He said, Jackie, you've got this business background. You were an accountant. Do you have a business plan for your property business? And I ended up saying, no, not really. I was like, I did this training course. I know all these strategies. That's my business plan. I'm going to use one of them to get some properties. And he told me, like, it would make sense, is that that's not enough. That's not a proper plan. You need to have a focus, you need to have a plan, you need to have your goals and your milestones all marked out and written down for exactly what it is that you're looking for. So I went away after that call, again, feeling still a little bit defeated, but said, yes, if that's what he tells me to do, I'm going to put together a plan. So we put together our business plan and said, what is it that we're looking for? We are looking for cash flow because I had left my accounting job and I didn't want to have to go back to it. So we needed cash flow quickly. And there's a few strategies that give us cash flow quickly. So we looked at HMOs to start with, because HMOs, so houses of multiple occupation, can give you a lot of cash versus just renting out a single home to a family. So we looked at houses of multiple occupation. Being based here near Oxford, property prices are very, very high, and there's a lot of licensing and regulation around properties. So we found it was going to be quite difficult for us to buy HMOs. We had enough money that we probably could have paid the deposit for one HMO, but nobody was going to give us a mortgage because they're all licensed. You need specialist financing, specialist mortgages, and we don't own our own home. We had never had a mortgage before. We had no property management experience, no landlord experience. We weren't going to be able to get a mortgage right away. So that pretty much killed that idea right off the bat. We also weren't able to get joint venture partners. That's another thing. Lots of people say, oh, you'll find a great deal, you'll find a great joint venture partner. Well, again, we had no experience, so while we found a few of what I thought were great deals, the money wasn't very forthcoming, because while we knew people that had money, they basically wanted to know, what experience do you have? How do I know that you know this is a good property and that you'll be able to manage it? And I didn't have anything to back up what I was saying experience-wise. So we weren't able to get joint venture finance. So we said, all right, what do we need to do that will be able to manage properties and get the income from them without having to get a mortgage or a joint venture partner? And that's when we discovered rent-to-rent, or not really discovered it, but that's when we decided that that was going to be our kind of phase one, year one strategy. Because with rent-to-rent, you're not buying the property, you're just renting it from the owner, so you don't have that huge 25% deposit that you need when you get a mortgage. And it's also a lot quicker. So if any of you have bought properties, and we've bought a few now, the process can take months to go through solicitors and mortgage brokers, and it's a pain. Whereas with rent-to-rent, you can be up and running really, really quickly and starting to get cash coming in the door. So we decided rent-to-rent, phase one, that's what we're going to do. Our goal was £100,000 of profit per annum from our rent-to-rent business. And this was going to be probably 10 to 14 properties that we were going to need. We decided to do it in Oxford because that was the location I knew the best. And it was basically going to be me doing all of the work. Because my partner, while he's wonderful, he has another business that he's part owner in, and that's what he does full time. So he didn't have a lot of time for the property business. So I went out there and I started looking at properties. It was a great strategy for us because it did raise that cash flow. So I'll talk about this more in other sessions, but it really worked for us to get out there. If you guys can hear that, I'll just turn that off really quick. I probably should have turned my phone calls off. Anyways, so I lost my place now. So rent-to-rent really worked for us because we were able to get that cash flow that we were looking for. By the end of our kind of 12 months that we had given ourselves, we had the £100,000 of profit that we needed per annum, and we had that from about 10 properties. I'll probably spend some time on some of these calls going through some examples with you so that you can see how that all works. But we're just about at the end now, so I'll probably leave it there and say, phase one of our rent-to-rent business is now complete. We've kind of been doing it for about 2 years since we got our very first property. We've set up and systemized the business, so I now no longer do the day-to-day running of the business. I've got a great team in place that helps me with all of that stuff, and that's freed up my time to work on other things. So I do training, I do coaching and mentoring, which, to be honest, I find a lot more fun than dealing with tenants. So again, I've got my team that deals with tenants. We're also taking on somebody else who's going to help us find new properties, which is going to work really well. Because again, I don't enjoy going out and meeting people and negotiating. I'm a lot better on the back end, putting together systems and making sure everything ticks along really, really well on the business side. So we're getting all set up for that, and I can pursue more of the things that I want to do, such as traveling. So that's my real dream. So I spent quite a few months last year abroad in Bali and back in the States visiting friends and family, and I look forward to doing more of that in the future. So this is the end of this session. We've gone our 15 minutes. So that was Lunch with Jackie. I am going to be doing this daily, so make sure you subscribe so that you get notified when I'm doing this, and make sure you share this with anyone else that you think will be interested in learning more about rent-to-rent, more about property investing, and more about just business and setting up your business in general, because I'm going to be sharing loads and loads of tips every day right here in the same place. So I look forward to seeing you again tomorrow, and have a wonderful day.